Good morning, Sec 3 Social Studies students. This is Mr. Seow, and today I want to teach you the lesson on the Social Studies Essay Question 6, Structured Response Question 6, which I call the blah blah essay. So you should have this worksheet with you, writing materials, and at any point you can speed up, slow down, or pause this video to suit your learning pace. And why do I call this essay the blah blah essay? This is the first essay question you will see. The first essay question you will see. It will be based on one of the three issues. It could be issue 1, citizenship and governance, issue 2, diversity, issue 3, globalization. And it is crafted in a form that demands your original, creative, critical, and divergent ideas, divergent thinking. And what do I mean by that? So let's look at some past question 6 questions, blah blah essay questions. In O level, question 6 will ask for two ideas, and you can refer to this on the social studies website. For instance, the question from 2017 was, in your opinion, why is Singapore becoming increasingly diverse? Explain your answer with reference to two reasons. In 2019, in your opinion, how can Singapore benefit from its development as a smart nation? Explain your answer with two benefits. In 2020, what messages would you share with Singaporeans to reduce the amount of plastic waste? Explain your answer with reference to two messages. And in 2022, what lessons can young people in Singapore learn about the spread of foreign culture? Explain your answer with reference to two lessons. In other words, the essay will give you a scenario, right? And then it will demand two ideas, and these ideas can be strategies, reasons, benefits, messages, ways, lessons, and so on. In other words, two blah blahs. So, since this question is so broad and unpredictable, right? The only way for us to become skillful at responding to this question is to understand its demands and do some practice. So let's just write down the blah blah essay, right? Will demand two ideas or two blah blahs. So it could be suggestions, ways, reasons, benefits, messages, lessons, and requires divergent thinking. And demands explanation of these ideas. Right, to address the given scenario or context. So please write down these three handles on your worksheet, because these are the handles, the thinking frames by which we address and enter into thinking about a blah blah essay question 6. Let's look at the scenario in this case that I've given you. The scenario here is you see people wearing masks, and then we can read the description for this extract. Extract 1 shows members of a public in Singapore wearing masks during COVID-19. COVID-19 was a coronavirus that spread rapidly and caused a worldwide healthcare crisis. Governments and citizens took swift actions to address the crisis. Before I move on to the questions, which I'm sure you can already see in your worksheet, but before you look deeply at and read those questions, can you think to yourself what could possibly be asked? What blah blah question could possibly be asked? And just looking at this picture without looking at my questions, I could ask, what are two actions that government and citizens would do to address COVID-19? Or I could ask, what are two reasons that we need to take action to address the crisis. Or I could ask, from this crisis, what lessons can society draw to help itself prepare for a future crisis? So it could be actions, it could be reasons, it could be lessons. It also could be on impacts. What is the impact of this virus on society? What is the impact? And if it is the question on impact, you could come up with two types of impact. It could be positive because people are working together to address the problem, which makes them more united, or it could be negative because the virus has led to a lot of sickness and ill health, which damage people's lives and might affect them if the people close to them are severely severely damaged by the virus. So let's look at the questions I've crafted in the worksheet now with this idea that any blah blah could be asked. 6A. In your opinion, why is it important for the government to take quick action to address the crisis? Explain your answer in reference to two reasons. So here I want reasons, highlight. 6B. In your opinion, how can the government help Singaporeans deal with COVID-19? Explain your answer in reference to two strategies. So highlight strategies. But in this case, notice that it is tied to the government. The government. Which means that you need to look from the perspective of the government's policies, the government's resources, and the government's guidance, instructions, so on. And you could think of another way to ask this question. What other stakeholder could you possibly come up with? It could be medical professionals. Maybe the question could change to medical professionals. It could be the youth, people like you. What could you do to help Singaporeans deal with COVID-19? So take note of the question and which stakeholder you're looking at, because then your suggestions, your ideas, your blah blahs, your examples will adapt to the question. In your opinion, how does the spread of COVID-19 affect society? Explain with reference to two impacts. So here, because impact is general, you could think of positive, negative type of impacts. Impact is a type of consequence. A positive impact would be a benefit. A negative impact would be a harm. So these are some ways that you would start thinking about the question here. In your opinion, what can the government tell citizens? Again, we have government with to encourage them. Explain your answer in reference to two messages. So now this is a message question. And finally, in your opinion, what can we learn from the COVID-19 pandemic about dealing with challenges? Explain your answer in reference to two lessons. So in other words, from one single prompt picture of people wearing masks during COVID-19, I can generate at least 5 different types of blah blah questions. Okay, so how do I answer, and how do I write an effective essay that can demonstrate my thinking for SRQ question 6? Let's now move to the next page. This box is a general structure and writing frame for all your SS essays. It's the peel technique. First, you start with ATQ, and then you write your point, and then you elaborate on your point. You write more about what this point is. You give an example about your point. Then you explain by linking your point, linking to the question focus. In this case, it will be the scenario given, the context given, connecting to the question focus. And finally, you restate your point with the link. So this is the peel technique. And we will start with the first question. In your opinion, why is it important for the government to take quick action? Explain your answer in reference to two reasons. So one reason, this is, can we annotate? This would be your ATQ. One reason is to reduce panic and tensions in society. So this is your point. Okay. For example, the outbreak of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic led to many people falling sick. The news coverage played up the dangers of COVID-19 and highlighted the problem of shortage of hospital beds. People in the country were felt shocked and scared, and they might even compete for daily needs such as foodstuffs and toilet paper. So this was the Great Toilet Paper Competition scramble. So this is my elaboration. So I want to now go into my explanation. So why is it important? So what? So what if people are fighting and scrambling for toilet paper? So what if they're shocked and scared? Why must the government do something about it? Well, so the government had to announce that they were taking real action, they were ramping up capacity, which would reassure the public and restore calm. This would allow people to go about their lives, daily lives, in a more reassured manner that improves their psychological well-being. Furthermore, the government highlighted that there were adequate stocks of food and toilet paper to prevent panic buying, and this would ensure that everyone had adequate supplies of necessities and a good standard of living. So this highlights the positive impact of the government's actions, which demonstrates why it is important for the government to take action. So this is my explanation. Thus, reducing panic and tensions is a reason for the government to take quick action. All right. So I have analyzed one question for you, or one reason for you. How do you write a second reason? Can I get you to pause the video and try using Peel to write the second reason? I've given you a suggestion here. The reason could be protect public health, but you could come up with your own reason. So please pause the video and try on your own. And then as I go through, you could add in any ideas you missed out that will really enhance your learning. Because if you try it on your own first, at least you realize what you don't understand and what you are struggling with. And that is something that you could come and ask for help in a consultation. Whereas if you just follow immediately and answer that I give, that you don't review and expose your own weaknesses in the practice, and it's always better to review and expose weaknesses in practice rather than in a time stressful examination situation. So I hope that you have tried writing on your own. I'm going to respond to this question now using this reason. So I'm going to continue with ATQ. How why ATQ? Another reason is to protect public health. All right. So I need to elaborate on this now. For example, COVID-19 is a coronavirus that affects many people in society by causing them to cough, have trouble breathing, lose a sense of taste and smell, or even uh, or even lead to severe illness and death. COVID-19 was transmitting itself quickly between different people and could spread to the entire population. including vulnerable people such as elderly and the young. Okay, I'm just going to add in one more last sentence. If the virus spread uncontrollably, there could be a shortage of medical resources such as sick beds and doctors, which could lead to excess death. All right, so let's go into our explanation. As a result, swift action by the government. So what action is this? Let's be clear. What is the government doing? What did the government do? I think we saw, right? Such as mandating the wearing of masks and subsidizing and organizing a nationwide vaccination program would lead to greater would reduce the spread of the virus and protect people's health, enabling them to live better lives, right? And more comfortable lives. So the government action would help to reduce the spread of the virus and help them live better lives. That's why it's important. The government is the only one that can do this. Government resources were required to protect lives on a national scale. Okay, furthermore, let's go to the second explanation. Furthermore, what else? Furthermore, active government management active government support for the management of the crisis, such as increasing medical hospitals capacity and and using circuit breakers to stop the rapid rise in cases, any surge in COVID cases, would ensure the healthcare system could run smoothly without being overwhelmed. This protected society's health, reduced excess death, and also ensured medical professionals were not could manage the situation well and help enable medical professionals to manage the situation well. So this line of argument goes with by government by taking government action we ensured that there were not excess deaths due to a lack of supplies at any one time, right? We sort of spread out the cases over different times to ensure that the hospitals could manage the situation well and therefore protecting society's health. And that's why it's important for the government to take action. To take quick action, in fact, not just action, but quick action. So I have, given the reason, I've described what is the problem, or what is the situation the government was dealing with, and giving some examples of government action as well, and highlighting how the government action was important in order ultimately to protect lives. So I hope that, we can just end off thus. The link, thus, protecting public health is a reason for the government to take quick action. Okay, so I hope that this pew response was clear to you as to how I constructed the ATQ, the point, the elaboration of the point, the explanation of how government action and why it's important, two explanations, and the link back to the point again. I'm going to break down one more response and then I will leave you to doing this worksheet on your own. Let's look at 6B. In your opinion, how can the government help Singaporeans deal with COVID-19? Explain your answer in reference to strategies. Again, it's the government. And now it's strategies. And so my ATQ here is strategy. Well, one way is to promote the use of technology. Okay, great. What are some examples? Let's elaborate on this point. The government could give companies resources to train their workers using video communication such as Zoom and Google Meet. That's some digital technology, right? The government's action is to give resources, can introduce mobile apps that ensure contactless and cashless transactions. Why is that helpful? Well, so on one hand, Singaporeans can communicate virtually and they can maintain their daily work and social life while reducing the risk of contracting the virus. So that helps Singaporeans deal with COVID-19. They will fall sick less by using Zoom. And furthermore, by using contactless technology, mobile apps, and so on, they will reduce their contact with physical surfaces, which also reduces the risk of getting infected and protects their health. And thus protects Singaporeans' health. Thus, promoting the use of technology is one strategy that the government helps Singaporeans deal with COVID-19. So you now can use this paper, this space, to write another pew response. And one strategy I've given you here is invest in healthcare systems. Invest in healthcare systems. So you can write your own pew response here. What will you do? Having watched this video, having understood the way we craft our responses using divergent thinking, coming up with your own ideas, right? Your ideas can be informed by examples and knowledge you already have. Please go through, analyze each paragraph I give you for each question using the finding the ATQ, point, elaboration, explanation, and link, and then proceed to write your own pew response for each of the 5 questions. I hope today's lesson has helped you enter and think about this question 6 in a structured way. Ultimately, question 6 is a divergent thinking question. You can't predict this question. It will not be from the textbook. It will be something that requires you to think. From the past year papers, we have seen that the questions have been asked in many different ways, 2 ways, 2 lessons, 2 messages, 2 benefits, 2 reasons, ultimately 2 Blahblahs. And the way, the handle that we want to go in with is when we look at the question, look at the prompt, and look at the extract, right? What are 2 relevant Blahblahs we can identify from to address the questions, and what examples do we have to elaborate on this Blahblah, and how do we explain our idea to address the given scenario and context, and always be sensitive to the actors that they have identified, whether it be the government or medical professionals, the youth, and so on. I hope this video today has helped you understand question 6, Blahblah essay, and this practice will help you get used to the pew format. Thank you, have a nice day, I'll see you in the next lesson.